guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Ryan. I haven't uploaded a video in quite a while, but I'm very excited for this new pattern. I'm calling it the Completely You skirt, which I know is a little cheesy, but I honestly don't care. This is going to be a free pattern, but there will be a paid version up on my Etsy in the description if you want the full pattern with the full sizing and extra instruction. It's a pretty simple pattern, but you do need to know a few different stitches, including single crochet, half double crochet, and front post, back post ribbing. So for this pattern, for this original sample piece, I ended up casting on 60 stitches, and each of the 3 stitches is divided evenly among, so 20, 20, 20. But in the pattern I do describe how you can change that up if you have narrower hips or wider hips, what have you. It's a very customizable pattern for many different sizes. So for the whole of the pattern, I'm going to be using a 4.25 millimeter crochet hook and worsted weight acrylic yarn, though you could use cotton, wool, whatever. So here I am just chaining up. As I said, I'm going to be doing 60. I'm not really going to be teaching in this video. This is a pattern video, so if you do not know how to crochet, I will have some videos linked down below for you if you need that. So right now I am just, for this sample piece, I didn't want to make another skirt, so I'm doing 15 in lieu of the 60 of the original pattern. And to start off, you will do your number and then chain 2 extra. And I like to crochet in the back ridge of the chain. I think it gives you a nicer look. So first we're going to be starting off with 5 double crochet. After you've done your 5 double crochet, which in the original pattern is actually going to be 20 double crochet, you're now going to do 20 half double crochet, or for me, 5 half double crochet. And then after the 20 half double crochet, you're now going to do 20 single crochet. So pretty simple. Now for every round you're going to be chaining 1 on the single crochet side and chaining up 3 on the bottom of the skirt, which is the double crochet side. And for this pattern you're only going to be working in the back loops. That's what gives the skirt that nice ribbed look. So when you're looking at the stitch, you have that V, and we're only going to be working into the back loop of that V. For me, it was easy just to count in my head, you know, 20 single crochet, 20 half double crochet, 20 double crochet. But if you really want to, you can add markers at the last stitch of each section so you don't get lost, or you could just look at it visually because it is pretty obvious where each section ends, obviously, because each stitch has a different height, so you will be able to tell where it goes from single crochet to half double crochet, etc. And as I said earlier, on the bottom of the skirt, the double crochet side, you're going to chain 3 every time you turn your work. Now, in order to change color, it's actually pretty simple. Just make sure you're doing it on the same place every time. I did all of mine at the bottom. So you're gonna do half of a double crochet, leaving 2 stitches on your hook. And then you're simply just gonna end the stitch with the new color so it doesn't interfere with the last stitch you made. And then chain up 3 and just start the next row with your new color. Also, to keep my ends tidy, I just made a quick knot, and that was enough to keep it secure until I sewed them in at the end. So if you want to crochet around your ends as you go, you can do that too. You just have to really make sure you know which side is going to be the right side and which side is going to be the wrong side. So once your skirt is long enough, we're going to crochet up the seam. And so you have to end your row at the bottom of the skirt, and you get to decide here which side you want to be, the front or the back. And then all you do is a simple slip stitch, or you can single crochet, or you can sew it together. It's really up to your preference, but I did a slip stitch and it turned out pretty well. I forgot to mention it earlier, but the gauge for this pattern is 5 rows per inch, and for the skirt that I made, the sample one, I did 2-inch stripes, so it was really easy to know when I was done. But of course in the pattern I'll have the actual rows and sizes if you like to count rows like I do, but it's very customizable and pretty easy to make. Once you're done seaming up the back, just cut the yarn and flip it back to the right side. And you can sew in your ends now or later. I chose to sew them in all at the end just because I don't like doing multiple rounds of sewing in ends, but really up to your preference. I was really inspired by boxing shorts for this pattern. I really liked the thick waistband with the dual drawstring sort of vibe. I only did one drawstring on this, but you can totally do two in the top ribbing and the bottom ribbing if you want that look. Yeah, so I'm about to show you how to do this. And for the little sample piece I'm doing, I decided to switch to a smaller hook, but in the actual pattern, you do not need to do this. You can just stick with your 4.25 millimeter. And so to start, all I did was make a little slip knot near the back. It doesn't really matter where, but I just put it directly on the back center line. And then you're going to pick up one stitch per row. So for the actual pattern, that is 5 because it's 5 rows to an inch. But for this little sample piece, I did 4. So you can see as I pick up one single crochet per row. Once you get all the way around, all you're going to do is slip stitch to the first single crochet that you made, and then you're going to chain up 3 for double crochet. And this is where we're going to start the front post, back post ribbing. Honestly, front post, back post seems complicated, but it's not really. It's just a little bit fiddly. Instead of double crocheting into the stitch, you're going to be double crocheting into the post beneath the stitch, or between the stitches if you want to think of it like that. So it can be a little bit fiddly to get around the stitch. So you're just going to go around and then make a normal double crochet, and that is a front post double crochet. And because it's ribbing, now we're going to do a back post, which is a tiny bit more fiddly than the front post, but if you want to think about it like an accordion, you're sort of just like piecing those 2 stitches together. If you want to think of it like that, I don't know, that helps me. An accordion in the sense that you're like essentially going in one stitch and then out the other stitch the opposite way. Once you get all the way around, you're going to do your final stitch, which if you have an even number of stitches should be a back post double crochet, and then you're going to slip stitch to that 3 chain space that we made at the beginning of the row, and then the next row is actually going to be single crochet. So we're just going to chain up 1 and then single crochet in every double crochet that you made in the previous round. And for the end of the 3rd round, you're just going to make that last single crochet and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space that you made in the previous round. And then you're going to chain up 3, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did in round 2. And it's pretty easy to see where the front post, back post stitches are. They should be lined up perfectly, basically, which is why we did that single crochet round in between. It just makes them directly on top of each other. So now we're just going to do that round of front post, back post, and I'll meet you at the end. And for the final round of the waistband, we're just going to finish off the previous round with a back post double crochet, and then you're going to slip stitch to the chain 3 space, and we're going to do another round of single crochet, so chain up 1, and you can just do a regular round of single crochet, but for some reason I decided to do a round of single crochet in the back loops. I think that just gives the top of the waistband a nice condensed look, but feel free to not do that if you don't feel like it. I don't know. And then at the very end of the round, you're just going to slip stitch to the chain 1 space, slip stitch again, and cut your yarn, and then the waistband is done. Now you can sew in all your ends, and in the next clip I'm going to show you how to make the drawstring cord. Again, you could be using the 4.25 millimeter. I was just trying to make a smaller cord just for this little sample piece. You could make a smaller cord if you wanted, it doesn't really matter. And for the pattern, I chained up, I believe it was 250 or 300 stitches. You really can just measure it with a tape measure. It just really is up to you how much extra you wanted. I wanted quite a lot extra because I wanted to be able to tie a bow at the end, but that's really up to you. So basically you're just going to chain up your number, and then you are going to flip the chain over, and we will be working in the back ridge loops like we did at the beginning of this pattern, but it's more crucial here, so you actually have to do it in the back ridge this time. And all you're going to do is pull up a loop, and then you're going to slip stitch in every single chain space. And this is going to get you a nice cord. It looks a lot like I-cord, if you know that from knitting, because it has sort of the V on the front side and the back side, so it just looks good, and it's thicker than a regular chain. In order to weave in your ends, make sure you are on the wrong side of the work, obviously. With crochet, it's not really that crucial. It's pretty invisible no matter what you do, but I like to try to go into the stitches so it almost looks as if I crocheted around them, but I like sewing them in because personally that's just easier for me. So I go in a few stitches, and you just pull it in, and then you pull at the bottom a little bit just to make sure it's not going to shift around and stretch, and then you clip your end, and you do that to all of them. order to weave in the cord, I just used the same tapestry needle and I didn't weave in the ends yet on the cord. And then it's as simple as just basically weaving in and out of your ribbing, only catching the front post stitches. Just make sure that you're not actually going through any of the stitches, you're really just going through the empty spaces, because you don't want to split any yarn or anything. And wherever you start is where it's going to come out at. So on this little sample piece, I did it at the center front, but on my original sample, I did it on the side. It really just depends on what you like. As you can see, I made the last minute decision to put it in the bottom ribbing instead of the top ribbing. That's what I like about it, is that it's customizable. So it really depends on whatever you like. And I made these cords a little short, so they kind of barely tie into a bow, but you get the idea, obviously. And then I forgot to film it, but all you have to do to weave in the end on the cord is just go in and out of the stitches a little bit and cut the yarn. Just make sure you stretch it so that none of the yarn pops out like it does on my sample here, you can tell. Yeah. And then here's just a little preview of the actual size skirt and how the drawstring action works. If I did it again, honestly, I think I would put it on the bottom ribbing or have two cords, but I like this anyway. And then for the pom-poms, all I did was make a small pom-pom over 3 fingers, and then I wove in the ends of the cord into the pom-pom instead of into the cord like I did on the mini sample. And with that, your skirt is done, and you have to watch me awkwardly dance because I absolutely hate modeling and I kind of hate these shots, but I put it in anyway because, you know, whatever. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, the paid version is in the description below. Of course, you don't have to buy it, but I would really appreciate it if you did. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and if there's anything in particular that you want me to make, leave it below in the comments. Bye!